Welcome, fellow artists. Now, this is going to be a different kind of painting session today. It's going to kind of be more of a paint-along rather than a traditional class. And we're going to have a bit of a chat, if you will, about how to become more confident painters, more confident artists, and we're doing this all as we work here today. And to get started, well, you can either do your own freehand watercolor painting, if you'd like, or you can follow along with what I'm painting here by actually downloading a sort of coloring page, if you will, a bit of a coloring page file, which I will, of course, link in the top of the description below. This file is free for everyone to download, and you can print it as many times as you'd like. I'd recommend printing it on some type of thicker paper though, so you can do your watercolor painting on it, and you can use like cardstock paper, or even if you can fit like plain watercolor paper pages in your printer to print it directly on, that's great too. Otherwise, if you're unable to print the file, that's no biggie at all. You can absolutely just sketch the flowers very similar to what I've got here, and then just roll with it like that. Or if you don't even feel exactly up to painting today, that's totally okay too. You can even just sit and watch and listen to me today just like a podcast. Now, once you're ready to join me in painting, I want you to know that you are totally free to use whatever paints and whatever colors you'd like. And I am just merely a guide here. I will be using my acrylic to watercolor painting method, as you can probably already tell by how I'm just simply adding water to my regular acrylic paints. And I've taught this in a lot of other free classes on here, on YouTube as well, so you can definitely do that too if you'd like. But as we get into our freestyle painting today, again, this is going to be just a sort of paint along. You do what you'd like. You can refer to what I'm doing here in the video if you need. But I just want to go over with you what it truly means to have talent. And let's even start by thinking of talent as in, like, talent in quotation marks. What even is talent? How do we define it? I think a lot of us, when asked what talent is, are going to say it has something to do with skill. It's like having or possessing a natural skill. Being able to just do something amazingly well with minimal effort. But when we think of it this way, well, then do we also think that talent is just something we're born with? Something we can't change at all? This is where I think a lot of us might feel divided. Because traditionally, everyone likes to say natural talent. Like a person is just naturally given talent right from the start, before they may even realize they have it. And in some cases, sure, maybe this theory holds true. For example, like with child prodigies, the kids that can naturally sing like angels at the front of the choir before they even turn 3 years old. But honestly, that kind of case is very, very rare. I mean, how many child prodigies like these, amazing singers can you actually name? Probably less than a handful that we all know of. Now, how many, in contrast, completely grown up, amazing vocalists can you actually name? The ones that have been, say, creating albums and selling records and just been on the radio for decades or even longer. There's probably way too many to even count. We can think of this same phenomenon happening in the world of art, too, since we are, after all artists here. Think of just one well-known artist, either living or past, and really, really think about this. Was this person, you believe, just born painting those jaw-dropping pieces they're known for? Would the work that they created in adulthood be exactly the same quality as the art they might have created as children? Let's take someone I think we all know very well as an example. Leonardo da Vinci. Painter of probably the most famous piece of all time, or at least one of them, right? The Mona Lisa. You probably already knew that's what I was going to say before I even said it, because it's just so iconic. Now, do we really think that good old Leo would have been able to paint that piece, the Mona Lisa, at, say, 5 years old? Do we really think he was just born with a natural talent? Of course, you may certainly think he might have had naturally creative tendencies from birth, but we actually know from biographical information written on his life that he studied and practiced and worked as an artist and also as a scientist for many, many years before he even created the Mona Lisa. It took him time, lots and lots of time, to build up his skill, his talent, if you will, up to a point where he could just paint such a thing. And to me, this is very, very encouraging for us. Because it shows each of us, all of us artists today, that talent is something we can actually work to achieve. And I'll say that again and again. Talent is something we can work to achieve. Talent is something we can work to achieve. I can tell you that my art now looks nothing like the art I attempted to do in grade school. I know I've taken a lot of time to practice, to really practice my art skills, and it shows in the work and the paintings that I do now. So I want you to pause and think to yourself here. How long have you been practicing your art? Can you tell a difference in your art from the time you first started creating things versus now? And lastly, do you believe you have gotten to where you are now because of, say, natural talent? Or perhaps, have you acquired talent over time? Another thing that is really important to note when we're talking about talent and art is the fact that art actually is a very technical based subject. Now, this may sound kind of weird to you if you've never thought of it like this before, but art really has roots in science. It really does. This is why old Leo, our good old buddy old pal, studied science to improve his artwork. There's a little thing called color theory, which is used in art to mix and form different colors within a color wheel. And that's all science-based because, literally, it's a theory, color theory. Da Vinci also studied the human body and the human form to better understand how to paint human figures and faces, putting art and science hand in hand. So, because there is actually a lot of science behind making art, it makes everything quite technical, if you will. Meaning there's a technique to making art. There are specific methods to painting, or to sculpting, or to even something like photography, any art form. There are ways of doing things that are rooted in scientific study, whether you've ever realized it or not. For example, there are certain ways that are tried and true to build up textures in, say, an acrylic painting. You can layer paints on top of other paints as they dry. And there's science behind that, because we know acrylic paint will hold its shape and it won't move once it's dry due to its physical and chemical makeup. The materials used to make this paint are proven to hold up after it's completely dry. And that's science. So, part of being talented within the world of painting, it is actually just knowing the science of painting. It's really about having knowledge, and that has to come from either studying or learning about painting over time. There's really no way for you to just be born knowing how and why acrylic paint dries the way it does, right? And again, this should be really encouraging for us as painters. Because now we know that we can become more talented, quote unquote talented, in painting. All we have to do is become knowledgeable within the field of painting. We all just have to study the art of painting and practice using what we know. That's all it is. And you, too, can become a very talented painter. I hope you all enjoyed this painting session here with me today, and I hope you've learned about becoming a more confident artist. And if you'd like to join even more sessions like this, even longer sessions than this one too, I highly, highly encourage you to check out my brand new Watercolor with Confidence series, found through my online painting platform called Canvas Academy. With this full series of sessions, you'll get the chance to not only practice painting in watercolor on more complex coloring pages like this one, but you'll get to be inspired by more in-depth conversations on how to improve your art skills with confidence. For example, by learning how to become creative, how to actually practice your painting in the most effective way, and also how to avoid comparing your art to others, among so many other topics. Because becoming a great artist takes a lot of physical practice in creating art, but it also takes some practice on ourselves, like some mental practice, if you will, as well. Also included in the full course of painting sessions is even a workbook, which is almost like a journal, that's going to help you work on yourself and improve your mentality as a painter. Each and every watercolor session corresponds to certain writing prompts in the book, so you can journal and jot down some things that you learn along the way through the whole series. And it'll all come together to help you become the most confident painter you can be. So I really hope you will join us in the full Watercolor with Confidence course, which will definitely be linked down below as well. And, of course, I wish you all happy and totally confident painting.